Welcome to the Grotto.
The Board Game Grotto, a Little Big Thumbs series focused on the big thumbs of board gaming.
That's right, and in today's topic, we are going to be talking about two-player games, but not just any two-player games. Today, we're focused specifically on games that released in the 2020s.
So there's been a lot of games released since then. We're going to mention a few of our favorites, but that's barely scratching the surface.
Once we're done scratching, we're going to be moving on to talking about our 10x10 challenge, our board game challenge for 2023, to see how much money, if any, we've raised for our charities. And after that, Milo, you've got a brand new Grotto topic up your sleeve for us in our next video.
So let's not delay and let's get down to the games we play.
Now, before we get started with today's listy list, I want to encourage you to smash that subscribe button and follow along with us. That helps us grow the channel further and bring more great games to more great people.
Can we get started and let's do some rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot! Oh, you got me. You got me.
First on my list is That Time You Killed Me, released in 2021 by Pandasaurus Games. This game is time travel themed, so knowing that, I knew that I needed to play this game, and my instincts were right. I love this game. So basically, in this time travel themed game, you are trying to eliminate your opponent from 2 of the 3 timelines, being the past, the present, and the future. This is an abstract strategy game, and one thing I love about this, besides the really cool theme, is the fact that it has chapters. So every chapter you open and play, there's going to be a new mechanic that you add into the game, which just increases the replayability so much. Every time you think that you've mastered the game, you play a new chapter, and you have to re-strategize and learn everything.
That's fantastic. What I like about this journey that we took with this particular, prepping for this video, we kind of surprised each other with our picks. And this time we couldn't do that because we wanted to play through all of these games. And I don't think that That Time You Killed Me is a game that I necessarily would have picked off the shelf to play for myself, but I had a really good time when we played it together, and I would love to play through all those chapters sometime in the future.
Yeah, that would be really great.
My first pick for our list today is Unmatched. Now, you might be out there saying, wait a second, there are unmatched sets for 3 and 4 players, but there are also sets that are specifically geared towards 2 players. And that's why the Unmatched series is on our list. Now, recently, you and I played Houdini versus the Genie, and that allowed us these 2 unique characters with unique mechanics to go head-to-head, smashy smash, and see who was going to come out on top. And I love those kinds of games. Unmatched actually came out of an older game from the 90s or the early 2000s called Star Wars Epic Duels, where you would take different characters from the Star Wars universe and smash them together, like maybe Luke Skywalker versus Darth Maul, which was lots of fun, crazy cool, but Restoration Games took that system, smoothed it out, made it into an elegant game to enjoy with a variety of ages and player experiences. And I tell you, I was talking about that Houdini versus Genie set just a second ago. Now, that one's kind of special to me because those 2 were winning characters from a Unmatched design contest, which I actually entered. I had a Peter Rabbit deck. And it was just, it's so fun. It's so fun. Such a great system. And I know that you and I have played a few games, and I'm going to make you play so much more Unmatched in the coming weeks and months.
I will willingly play Unmatched games. I remember when you first introduced it to me, it was, I think, at the end of last year. You were like, oh, this is a cool game where you run up and punch your opponent and then you run away. And you're not wrong. That's pretty much what it is. But I'm also obsessed with Unmatched, and I, too, have quite a collection of them.
Oh, I didn't know you were obsessed.
My next game that I'm going to talk about, Wingspan Asia, released in 2022 by Stonemaier. So with Wingspan Asia, I had not like a low bar, but I wasn't expecting anything to blow me out of the water, but I was like, this is getting some traction. At the cafe that I work at, we immediately sold out of all of the copies that we had in, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give this game a try. I like Wingspan, just the base game, but I was curious to know how it would play as the 2-player, standalone that it is. And I was just blown out of the water. This is one of my favorite games that's on this list that we're going over. It's so cool. The fact that it has it kind of feels like there are two mini games going on to create one bigger game, and it's also like there's a solo mode, which really works for me. So yeah, it's great, and I've heard that it's also great for like the 6 and 7 player expansion, the like flock mode. So I haven't played that part, but it sounds so dynamic. Like there are 3 different ways to play it, and I love the 2-player version. It's great. Highly recommend it.
Totally. Very versatile game, and just on its own as a 2-player experience was super fun. My first pick was kind of unconventional, and I'm going to stick with that for my second pick as well, because my second game on our list of 2-player games is Paris, La Cité de la Lumière, which is from Devir Games, and is a 2-player game that initially came out in 2019, but there's now an expansion that came out in 2022, the Eiffel expansion for Paris, which is why I'm qualifying it for this list. Thank you, expansions. Now, Paris is a game that happens in 2 chapters. The first one is where we are going to be laying down cobblestone tiles, trying to sort of lay out our territory of the board. And then in the second chapter, we'll be drafting those postcard tiles and placing monuments onto the board to try to score points and do the best we can. This is just such a neat game. Like there's just such a shift between the first and the second chapter of the experience. And while sometimes it can be fiercely competitive, I find it to just be a marvelous time when you've got the right opponent by your side. Nudge, nudge.
It was a really great game. I know what you mean when you talk about like the dynamicness of it and the shift between like the first and second part of the game. I really felt that. We played it a couple of times, and the first game I did very poorly, was not ready, but the second game, like, I was able to like think ahead and plan more. I really loved the like 3D architecture, the monuments. Yeah, it was a great game. I would happily play it again. Next up, I have Splendor Duel. So, Splendor Duel, it was released in 2022 by Space Cowboys. And so for Splendor Duel, I wasn't sure what to expect. You know, like Splendor was a gateway game for me. I had played it a lot, and it's a great 2-player game. I thought Splendor Duel, like, what are they going to do? It's already a great like 2-player game, not 2-player specific, but with 2 players it works great. What could they possibly add? But honestly, I prefer Splendor Duel opposed to the original Splendor. This is such a great game. There's things that they've added to it that makes it a little bit more complex than the original, I would say, and its tactile clicky clackiness of the tokens is, you know, that scratches an itch for me. It was great. I was pleasantly surprised.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. The thing that, and I think you mentioned it a moment ago, is that Splendor is such an accessible game. Almost anybody can learn how to play Splendor, but Splendor Duel is not that same sort of accessible game. It's a game for someone who has played dozens of games of Splendor and is ready to sort of graduate to the next level of complexity. All right, my third and final pick on our list today is Dice Throne. And again, just like Unmatched and Paris before it, this is one that's a little bit off the beaten path because there are rules to play a Dice Throne with multiplayers, but there are also 2-player specific sets where you can go head-to-head with 2 delightful characters. A lot of people describe Dice Throne as Battle Yahtzee, in that it's got, at its core, it's got this 3 dice roll mechanic where you can roll your dice, keep some, roll again, and then roll again, and whatever you got at the end, that's what you have to use in your fight against your opponent. My favorite Dice Throne set is probably the Cursed Pirate versus the Artificer. They're just 2 cool characters. It feels like you're right in the middle of some sort of wacky 90s Saturday morning cartoon. Beautifully, wonderfully illustrated by Manny Trombley. And also there's that newer Santa versus Krampus set, which you and I played not too long ago. Really like fun, wacky characters. Never imagined having Santa in a game like this, but it's such a treat to do so. Dice Throne also extends into the Marvel universe, which you can get 2-player Marvel sets as well. Maybe you want to have Santa versus Spider-Man. Why not? So Dice Throne, super fun. So many dynamic characters, lots of strategic options with also a healthy dose of chaos, which I love. I love my Chaos games. What can I say? Dice Throne, my pick for my third and final two-player game. If you haven't already, you got to play this one.
You do. It was great. The Krampus and Santa one was the one that you introduced me to. It was super fun. I loved it.
Do you have another one, Milo?
I have one more up my sleeve.
All right.
So I saved this one for last. It is T for Two. It came out in 2020, also by Space Cowboys. And this, for me, is a hidden gem. It's a two-player game that's in the Alice in Wonderland world of games, which I'm a sucker for. I loved Alice in Wonderland as a kid. I've played a bunch of other Alice in Wonderland themed games. This is a bit of a deck builder, so that was really, really cool. It's like very, very simple deck building though. So if you're like new to board games or you want to introduce someone to like a deck building mechanic, I highly recommend T for Two. And the other reason why it's so special to me is it was one of the first games that my partner and I ever played. It was in 2020 when the pandemic was really, really thick, and I just have some really, really great fond memories of when we first played together and were falling in love.
That's fantastic. This is, of the games that are on our two-player list today, this is the only one that I actually haven't played. So you'll have to show me that one sometime, Milo. And if I'm going to throw in sort of a connective piece of tissue to one of my picks, there's actually an Alice character in Unmatched, you know.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yeah.
I haven't played as her yet, but another Alice in Wonderland game for me to try out.
There you go. So that's it. 7 great two-player games, all released in the 2020s. And one thing, when we first talked about this, I challenged you to come up with a game that is going to come out in the future from the 2020s that we might want to play together down the line. And now I've got a pick for you that I want to share, and hopefully we'll have a chance to play together sometime in the near future when it releases. That game is called Sky Team from Scorpion Masqué. Scorpion Masqué, of course, they make, at least in my house, they're most famous for Zombie Kids Evolution, Zombie Teens Evolution, two of the most marvelous experiences I've ever had gaming with my kids. Sky Team, not for kids. This is a two-player game where the two players are pilot and co-pilot, and they are trying to land airplanes in airports around the world. This is a dice placement game that's happening behind a screen because, you see, the twist here is that we're not allowed to communicate in the rounds while we're going. So we have to keep the plane balanced. We have to lower the flappy things and do all the crazy airplane business that I know absolutely nothing about. And it sounds like a fun, tense experience that I think would be perfect for you and I in our hangouts together. So Sky Team from Scorpion Masqué, that's one I'm excited to give a try. Milo, do you have one?
I do.
Ooh.
And you know what? It's funny that you picked a cooperative game because I did too.
Oh.
I'm really excited for Allplay's Sail.
Yeah.
This is a cooperative trick-taking game. In this game, you are pirates and you're trying to navigate the seas. And something else in common with the game you just mentioned is that there is a lack of communication in this one also.
That's funny. That's funny that we picked games that are so sort of thematically and mechanically similar. Maybe that should be a future topic here on the Grotto, is games in which we don't talk. We could just sit here and not talk to each other for 30 minutes, and I'm sure it would be very interesting.
I definitely know lots of cooperative games with lack of communication. So,
really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that is a topic then. Very cool. All right, so we've talked about two-player games that we're excited to play. We've talked about two-player games that we love, but what we haven't talked about is your favorite two-player games. And we'd love for you to drop your favorite two-player games, whether they're from the 2020s or beforehand, in the comments of this video so that maybe we can find a hidden gem that we haven't discovered before.
Yeah, totally. And you know what else we haven't talked about in a while? Our 11 by 10 challenge.
It's true. All right. Why don't we throw up one of those transition-y things, and then we'll be right back to talk about our 10 by 10 board game challenge for 2023.
Okay, so here we are talking about our 11 by 10 challenge. Now, we've each chosen an organization to donate money to at the end of the year based on how we did in this challenge. You chose the Spiel Foundation, and I chose the Youth Project.
That's right.
So for each game that we complete, we're going to contribute a certain amount of money. If you haven't seen our first video of the year yet, go check that out because we break down how the money contribution works.
All right. Why don't we just do a quick rundown of how many times we've each played each of these games, and then we'll throw a little tally up on the screen there to show how much our donation is going to be so far this year. So first up, we've got Ahoy.
3.
3. Next up is Ghost Stories.
3.
1. Can't Be Creatures.
7.
Whoa, nice. I got 3 on that one. Toy Story, The Adventures
5.
game. 5. I got 0. I got a big goose egg for Toy Story. Food Fighters.
5.
2. You're killing me here. Touring Machine.
10.
Nice. 8. On Tour.
1.
2. And Word Heist.
Word Heist. 5.
5 for me as well. Kites.
10.
10! We both got that one. Rolling Realms.
Only 1 for me.
Oh, that's a surprise. 3 for me. And the final one is Great Western Trail.
1 for me.
And 2. All right, so that means that we've each finished one game 10 times, and you finished an extra one 10 times. So that brings our total donation that'll be going to the Spiel Foundation and the Youth Project currently to $50. Not a big amount yet, but we are going to get there. We got still 6 months to finish this thing. We're going to do it.
Yes, we certainly will.
All right, Milo, I have to admit that although we're doing well with our 10 by 10 challenge, there is at least one game on our list that I'm a bit concerned that I'm not going to get to play 10 times. And so I want to throw you a little curveball, a little twist. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to accept this little ticking time bomb I'm going to give you here to blow one game off of my list. So that I can light a fuse and also blow one game off of your list. So 2 games removed from our 11 by 10 challenge so that we can pick 2 new games to add in there and give ourselves a better chance of getting to the end of this challenge and the full donation value to our organizations. What do you say?
I say yes. That sounds like a fair deal. And I also want to, play as many games as we can for these donations. So it works for me as well.
You were so confident in that reply. I feel like you've already got a game in mind that you want to remove from my list.
I do. As sad as it makes me to say, I've got to say goodbye to Great Western Trail.
Okay, I get it. The Great Western Trail is the most complicated, the longest game to play. It's going to take the most time to get played. 17 more times before the end of the year. I understand. It's a Great Western Trail. You're going to love it if you play it a few more times. But for the purposes of this challenge, I understand. I accept you blowing it off of the list. Do you have something in mind to replace it with?
I do.
Good.
So I would love to add Astronauts.
Oh, Astronauts!
Yes.
That's great. We just did a playthrough of Astronauts on the channel for Indie Boards and Cards because they just had a second Astronauts game that was on Kickstarter. We'll put a link up in the description of this video so you can check out that playthrough. And that's awesome. I would love to play more Astronauts. There's so much to explore with that game. So that's great. Astronauts, 10 times. I accept.
Yes. So for Astronauts, can we include both Astronauts the First and Astronauts Eternity?
100%, yes.
Awesome.
We've got both games. Why not? Why not play it all? Mix and match, baby.
Let's do it.
Cool.
So what game of mine are you going to blow up?
Well, it might not be a surprise because I've only got one game on the list that I have played 0 times, and that is the Toy Story game. Fantastic game, but it's a campaign game, and you've already played through that campaign with other folks 5 times now, and so I feel like it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me to catch up with a campaign game. Love the game, love the system, love the op, but for this particular purpose, I want to remove Toy Story from the list. I hope you don't mind too much. I hope you're not hurt.
It's totally fair. I saw that coming. Funnily enough, this is your old copy of Toy Story that I have. I got it in a math trade once upon a time. So no surprise there. Do you have a backup picked?
I do have a plan. We've already been talking about it today, and that is Unmatched. Restoration Games has sent us a pile of unmatched games to play and explore. So it only makes sense to add a game to this list that we're already going to be playing to cover and share on the channel. And so I'm adding Unmatched to our list, and I can't wait to destroy you with all the various characters in the system.
Perfect. It sounds like a great plan. Can't wait to lose 10 times.
Amazing. All right, so 2 new games on our list, Astronauts and Unmatched. Very exciting. Thank you for accepting that little twist. And Milo, I think we've only got one thing left to discuss today, and that is your pick for our next Board Game Grotto episode, whenever we can manage to make it happen.
Yes. So, I'm very excited about this one. For those of you who are watching this video from afar, recently Nova Scotia had a devastating wildfire that got very out of control. And, you know, I thought long and hard about if I had been affected by this fire, if there were any board games that I would grab as I was headed out the door, any that I would save with me or felt that I absolutely needed to bring with me. So I would like to choose 5 games each that if you were headed out for whatever reason, you just had to take those games with you, what would they be?
Wow. So 5 like emergency bag games.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Desert island games, emergency games. That's great. That's a great idea. That's awesome. All right. Very good. I'm excited for that. I'm excited. Gotta go pick the games that are gonna be on. That's gonna be hard though. Gonna be hard to just pick 5. Great. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Board Game Grotto. 2-player games, challenge update, emergency bag, board games. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Milo, for being here for another Board Game Grotto, and thank all of you for watching with us. And until next time,
Whether you like long games
or short games,
or games that are new,
come hang out with us.
The Grotto's got you.